you're saying there's Roblox Twitter, because this is outside my understanding.
They could have written you up like, hey, bro, you can't ever do that again.
Within 3 months, we're planning to open sign up something that wants to sign up.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
Welcome to the Goat Show, the show where we celebrate and debate all things great. I am joined by my co-hosts, Fresh and Mr. Deezy Ellis. Good to see you, gentlemen. And my name is ZiLLY, aka Ravine. And man, we have an exciting interview today that we're going to be doing with none other than Vibhu Norby, who is the founder and CEO of an exciting new creator platform called Drip. So we'll be getting into that very shortly. But before we do, Fresh, what do we got to do? What the people got to do on the show?
You got to like, subscribe, hit the bell, drop a comment, send it to your mom, send it to your aunt, send it to your mom's boyfriend.
Oh,
you know,
the boyfriend too. All right, well,
absolutely.
If you like him,
no,
he's a jerk.
No, if you don't like him or you like him, send him the show. I'll either tell him you love him or fuck you accordingly.
Okay, all right. Well, you heard the man. You know what to do. Definitely share this episode because we have someone super exciting on the show. And without further ado, Mr. Vibhu Norby, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Appreciate you coming on the show. Drip is, for anybody who doesn't know, who may be watching, if you haven't heard of Drip, Drip is an exciting new creator platform and a collector platform. So it's a way for creators to be able to create content, and then for collectors to collect that content and be able to for creators to be able to earn. I like to describe it as, it's like Instagram, but when you actually put something out, you actually earn something from it. But we're on it. If you want to look us up on Drip, in the show notes, we have the link, but you can also look us up at the Goat Show Pod as well on the Drip platform. But we are super excited about it. We think it's the future, and so I'm just really happy and feel really privileged to have the CEO here. Vibhu, how you doing, man? How's it going? Are you in Austin? Is that where you are?
I'm in Austin, Texas. Thank you for having me here. Great to have you guys on Drip.
Yeah. Do you like Austin? I've been wanting to go there. It's like the last American city I feel like I need to live in before I decide where I permanently want to be.
I've been here for a little over a year, and yeah, really love this town. It's got a good mix of low cost living. There's a lot of culture here. The arts, comedy, music, obviously, and it's a great place to raise kids.
Ah,
so yeah.
What's your how many kids do you have?
Two.
Oh, nice. Okay, great. All right. Well, family man, there you go. So we usually start the show whenever we have a guest on. We ask this question first, and that is, if you could have any superpower bestowed upon you right now, what would it be?
I mean, what are the options?
I mean, for me personally, I wish I have two. Either A, I could freeze time so I could work and not lose time. And another option I have is if I could divide myself, like multiply myself, so that I can do 20 tasks at once. Those are my two top powers that I would want. But
I feel like the most efficient one is teleportation.
Mm.
We spend so much wasted time. I mean, I guess you need that for podcasts because people listen to podcasts when there would be no podcast if everyone could teleport, actually. But yeah, like I've spent way too much time in transit from one place to another. I think life would be much better.
You were in Singapore, right?
Exactly.
For so long. So we'll get into that in a second. But I guess the sort of superhero power thing leads into, what's your superhero origin story? Where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up outside of Philadelphia on the main line. So I'm from the East Coast. But I've lived outside of Philly for more than half my life at this point. So went to school in Massachusetts, and I lived most of my professional life in the Bay Area, in San Francisco and Palo Alto and in between.
So yeah, I want to ask you about that. So you started out, from what I could tell from looking at your LinkedIn, you started out as just a programmer. Is that accurate? I mean, is that something you went to school for, or did you just learn that yourself, or how did you start your tech journey?
I mean, I learned how to program because I wanted to start companies. And when I was a teenager, I was very like attached at the hip to my computer. And back in that time, we didn't have Twitter; we had forums. So I spent a lot of time on very niche internet forums. That's where I learned how to tweet. That's where I learned how to argue with people on the internet professionally. um, but uh, at some point in that time, I ended up deciding to start my own forum. And in order to like customize your forum and add different things to it, you had to do a little bit of coding. So I started to dabble in that, and I found myself really enjoying it. And forums became websites, websites became apps. And when I was in college, I was actually studying Indian philosophy. I was actually studying Buddhism and Eastern religion, programming a lot in my spare time. And in my last year, um, my child brain left my body, and a reasonable brain came in and said, "Hey, you're never gonna do anything with this Buddhism stuff. So why don't you do something that's good for your career?" And so I switched my major in my last year to computer science, um, and that was really fortunate because I got a job with like 3 months after I graduated as a programmer. But my intention was always to come to Silicon Valley, figure out what I wanted to build, and then do that. That was my destiny from a very young age, and that's what I've been doing for the most part.
Not to go on too far tangent, but I'm curious: is there a connection between being in a flow state and programming and like Zen meditation, Buddhism, that type of spiritual path?
Hmm. Um. I mean, I've not thought about it. I mean, for myself, I've had like my real superpower is uh I can really focus on something and not think about anything for a really long period of time. Like if I'm working on a piece of code or writing something or whatever it is, I won't notice the passage of time at all. There's no feeling of hunger or needing to do anything. That's why I have to go pee every time I get up from my desk. Just kidding. TMI, but I do, yeah. But I think there's, I mean, yeah. And thinking about it, there is something to it, but it's actually quite the opposite. Because in meditation, you're trying to remove your focus and kind of unfocus from everything. But when you're coding, you're really, I'm really locked in personally. So maybe they're actually like the polar opposites, in fact, in a way. But it's a circle, so they kind of end up feeling a little bit similar. But yeah, anyway.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I've always wanted to. I don't know. It's hard for me to get into meditation. I feel like I just don't have the ability to let go of what's going on in my head. But that's a story for another day.
Takes practice. Takes practice.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so you go to Silicon Valley now. From what I'm seeing, you started out at Roblox. Is that accurate, or did you do
Mhm.
other things before then? What was that experience like? And that was early days, right?
Yeah. So yeah, Roblox was based in Redwood City. They were, I want to say there were like 15 people in the company total, and there was maybe less than 10 on the engineering side. And I didn't know the first thing about the company. And I came out to interview with David Bazuki, who's the founder CEO of Roblox, and Eric, the CTO, who passed away recently. And yeah, it wasn't a great fit for me, to be honest, because the coding stack that Roblox is built in was at least at that time was C# and kind of .NET, which is a Microsoft like closed source tech. And I was like, in my spare time, I was always doing open source, like I don't know, PHP and Ruby on Rails and things like that at the time. But they really liked me, and they made me I think my first offer was like $85,000 a year, and I was like, "Wow, this is fucking crazy. This is amazing. I'm definitely taking this job. I'm moving out there." And I ended up really liking it. It was the company itself was a monster. Even early on, like Roblox was like destined for greatness. Like and I would say that was my experience later in my life too with Nest. Like there was something about those, the way they were run and like the energy there, and like how much they were being pulled into success from the product itself. Kind of having like fit. Um, that yeah, it just felt inevitable. I got fired, even though looking back, I did a lot of things there. Um, the thing that's most notable is I helped build their collectibles product at the time, and so my personal account has the very first limited edition collectible that was ever created on Roblox, the green bow tie number one. Um, and I've had that for 15 years now. And that is kind of like a very, very close predecessor to NFTs and what we have today, on blockchains. And I had a chance to like envision that very early on for them, amongst other things. But yeah, I was like, I was the youngest employee there. So I was the closest in age to our community, even though like Roblox players are pretty young, like probably like 8 to 12, somewhere in that range. Um, it was just a super fun place to work. Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, were you fired or were you just let go?
Oh no, I was fired, like straight up. I was fired. Yeah.
What happened? Can you talk about it? I mean, if it's
Yeah.
embarrassing,
I've
then we don't
No,
have
no,
to.
it's fine. I've like written about it. It's like I don't. I mean, at this point, I don't care. I mean, I don't mind telling people, but I uh I got a little like too involved in the community. Like one of the things I did there was help rebuild the forums at the time, because I had personally been doing a lot of forum stuff, and so I got to so I got very interested in like showing off to like the Roblox players. It was just like very like young brain type of thing to do. So my personal account on Roblox, I would like do things to my account that you couldn't do as a normal player. So, for example, I gave myself all the different membership programs, which was the subject of a very viral tweet from a few weeks ago. Because I logged into my account the other day and I noticed that I still had 200 years of membership on my account. They had never removed that. And that tweet has like 7,000 likes and like over 1 million views on Twitter. It's pretty crazy. Like whenever I tweet about Roblox, I get like I exit crypto Twitter and like enter this like totally different realm.
You're saying there's Roblox Twitter, because this is outside my understanding. So I'm just
Oh my god, dude! Roblox Twitter is like 100 times bigger than crypto Twitter. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, and so I had badges. My character to this day has items equipped that you cannot equip on your character. Um, but the thing that did me in was I had built a profile editor that only worked for me, and I had put into the code base like if the user is Vibhu, then you can like change the color scheme of your profile and like do other things. And I came into work the next day after I pushed that code, and back then we didn't have Roblox was not using version control. There was like no, I don't know, it was very like much a free for all. The CTO sits me down in a room with my engineering manager, and they're like, Vibhu, I know that you think that it's very fun and there's all this kind of stuff. And by the way, my retelling of this might be totally inaccurate. This is my like recollection of how it felt to be on the other side of that. Like you don't realize that you put something in the code base that could have given someone an attacker access to like wreck our database in our backend, because if someone had gotten access to my user account, the way I'd written the code was they could inject code directly into the Roblox backend. And Roblox is like a fully functioning economy. So it's not like just a regular game where you could exploit it. It was like there's money, like millions of dollars at stake. And I was devastated. But yeah, anyway, basically I took it a little too far, like my enjoyment of being a developer there. And yeah, they basically said it just wasn't a good fit. Like, you're really talented, but I'm really creative. I don't think this is really like the right engineering environment for you. So yeah, yeah. That's the story.
Such a political answer, bro. Such a political answer.
I mean, it's fair, but they could have written you up like, "Hey, bro, you can't ever do that again."
Yeah, they should have given you a pass. You know what I'm saying? I would have. I would have, Beaver.
Bro, I mean, listen, to play devil's advocate though, like he said, this is a multi-million dollar economy that like for the length of time that this update was pushed was technically vulnerable. Like,
I think it was like a series of things, right? Like I remember like the last thing I did, but there were probably like other like little stupid things that I was constantly doing, just kind of. And I wasn't professional at all, because I didn't, even though I had studied a little bit of computer science, my I was 10 times worse than the best than the next worst programmer on the team. Like those guys were super smart. Like I mean,
What do you feel like you from that experience there, other than, this whole thing that happened, what do you feel like you took from, because you're saying there, and then, you were at, I mean, you have an impressive, resume. You were at MySpace, you were at Nest. I'm curious, and Nest I'm really fascinated by because of Tony Fadell and those guys. I'm just curious from these sort of startup experiences. What do you feel like you gained the most? What did you learn the most from, in terms of, because you're now the CEO and founder of your own company with Drip and all that. I'm just kind of curious what you took, and if you had different learning experiences from each. I'm just really curious what you took from all that.
um, yes, one taught me patience, one taught me pain. Okay, no, that's a lyrics from an Ariana Grande song my daughter likes. Um,
That means it's not true.
uh, yeah. No, I do. I feel like I came, like, because I'd come to Silicon Valley to get into a position where I could start my own companies. I really came to learn, and so I was a sponge everywhere I went. And I was never, even if Roblox hadn't let me go, I probably wouldn't have lasted more than like another 4 or 5 months anyway. Um, and yeah, like different things. I mean, I think one of this wasn't, I didn't learn this at a company, but I think a lot of people underestimate how much you can learn from seeing a great startup being built, especially if your intention is to build one. A lot of I know a lot of people these days who like graduate college, and then run to go create something, especially if they went to like one of these more technical schools. Um, but like, there's no substitute for just observing someone like Tony Fadell in his natural habitat. And it's not always like the things that you might they're not always the things that you would see someone writing a blog post about. But sometimes it's observing how they carry themselves, and how they generate things like gravitas and character in different situations. I found that those like they're like I learned more from the characters I was around rather than like the playbooks, because the playbooks themselves, I mean, obviously like Nest and Roblox, these guys did great products, great strategy, all that kind of stuff. But they come from these people who have adopted a certain way of being that's really useful um, for building great companies, and that was more what I was wanting to learn. I personally, I'm not like a super sociable person. Like I learned how to socialize from mirroring people, and so being just trying to be close to them and see them um, was enough for me, to be honest. Uh, and I mentioned this before, but like this idea that you could sense this company was these like Roblox and Nest were there was no possibility they weren't going to be great. That's that energy comes from a lot of intentionality um, and and a lot of thinking. Like there was no uh, maybe Roblox to a lesser extent, but with Nest, I remember thinking that like there was no pixel or like you know any part of the actual thermostat itself that wasn't the result of someone thinking very hard about what that should be and why. They weren't just like, oh, I think black would be a great color for the face of the thermostat. There was like they would have like a day to talk about and discuss all the possibilities of what those colors could be.
Okay, sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but I find this fascinating because I've been in startups before in the past. Some people are like some people are like, just go, shit breaks, figure it out, fix it. And I am much more because I come from a design background. Like my mentality is like probably in the past has been to a negative degree, but to think over every little detail and like struggle with it and like so I'm kind of curious from your perspective, is there a happy medium between the two, or do you subscribe to one sort of idea more than the other from your experiences and what you've seen? I mean, or is it just sort of you kind of figure it out as you go?
Um, I usually I would channel the Jeff Bezos idea, which is that you have to know whether you're walking through a one-way door or a two-way door. And for one-way doors, like if you're deciding on the color of the faceplate on the thermostat, you can't like go back and then after it's on someone's wall, like you don't get to go like take it off the wall and then change the color if you don't like it. So and knowing like identifying what those are and then applying the right speed to those decisions is I think a very important skill to learn. The reality is for something like Drip, almost everything we do other than the digital asset delivery is a two-way door, so we move really really fast on the feature set, but we move really really slow when it comes to like touching the assets that are getting sent to the chain, because hey, those things get permanently inscribed and we can't do anything about it. So yeah, the answer unfortunately is like it just depends. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that totally being the case. So, and I do want to get back to that when we get into Drip because I love the way Drip's designed, and it really is. It's one of the things I noticed about the platform. When looking at it, is that it's really intentionally designed. But I want to talk about so you work at these different startups, you take these different lessons. My understanding is that then you go on your entrepreneurial journey. And the first thing that I'm seeing here is Origami Labs, and then I think there's another thing called Beta. Um, what were those initial startups, and how did they go? And what did you kind of learn from those?
Yeah, so Origami was a company that I did in a business accelerator called Y Combinator. And that was I think I was 23 when we founded that company. We raised venture funding for it. At that time period, there was a lot of interest in like the mobile apps had just become available. Like we started the company around the same time when Instagram and Snapchat and that first generation of social apps were born. And Facebook at the time didn't even have a mobile app. They had an HTML5 app, which was uh, it was it wasn't the app was terrible. And so we had this idea. um Originally the idea was, let's take the address book on your phone and turn it into a social network. And the venture pitch was, Facebook is bad at mobile, and they're not going to make the platform jump, and so there's an opportunity to build like the Facebook of phones, which of course turned out to just be Facebook, because Zuckerberg is like the goat of copying products and winning. But Yeah, we raised capital for it, and then we ended up getting acquired by Nest, which is how I ended up there. But they didn't, nothing we had built was useful to them. They, like a couple of the fast growing companies at the time, um, were buying talented mobile teams to help come and build their mobile apps, and were willing to pay for it if you hadn't raised so much money. We had so yeah, that was we got kind of lucky, to be honest, because it was a good resume item, and also got me into a really really good opportunity with them. Beta, I left Nest to start Beta with three other people that I met at Nest, and one of those and I should say a whole bunch of the early Beta team are people that came from Nest, and one of them is the co-founder of Drip now. So one of the people that I work with at Nest, I'm one of the guys that I worked with at MySpace in 2010, is my co-founder at Drip. So I've uh, been able to find some people in my career to um, that I just thought were awesome, and we've kind of been able to build a few things together now. Yeah.
Would you? So I kind of want to go back to something you said before, and I think this applies too, which is that you if there's somebody watching right now, they're young, they were like you, and they're straight out of high school or college, and they're a rock star in whatever they do because they've learned on their own or whatever. But would you recommend that they go work at other companies first, and then for the experience, to be able to see what good leadership looks like, to be able to find fellow badasses to go and start other companies? I mean, would you recommend that rather than them just like building something on their own and then trying to raise capital and things like that?
Um, I think that right answer to that is, on average, yes, you probably should work for somebody else, and develop some connections and skills. Um, the only place where that wouldn't be true is all of our generational, once in a generation companies were founded by very young people, like Zuckerberg, like Jobs and Wozniak, Microsoft, um, Snapchat, etc. Like none of those, all those guys were like in their didn't even finish college in some cases, so they had no preconceived notion of like what it means to run a company. And if you stumble upon like one of those types of things, like you probably should just go work on that, and not let anything bias you. But that is like one in a million companies. So um, but there is something about like preserving your youth, I think, is very important. Once you get to my age, you no longer like, most of my ideas are not very new. You just kind of run out of like, I think your brain just atrophies a bit between like 25 and the rest of your life. So
Dang, Vibhu, don't say that, man. I'm like,
how old are you?
no comment, no comment. I'm in my early 40s, so
Oh well, yeah, we're toast, dude. But yeah, like
Hey,
to be fair, I was saying that to them before you came on. I was like,
I think our brains actually do peak. Like I do think they peak younger, and like even in the athletically, for example, like NBA players peak between like 27 and 32, and then it's you can like your brain. I mean, you have experience, so there's like things you can do faster. But I do think that like your peak energy and like ideation and everything is um like starts to top out when you get into your 30s. So such a special time. Like you think about your college days, right? Like you might stay up late with your friends talking about all kinds of stuff. You can't even have that kind of conversation today because your brain is not interested in like so many different areas, and it's not like wiring connections between so many things. It's so you know kids should just do whatever they can to like preserve that energy, whatever that looks like. But 90% of 99.99% of folks would probably be better off just finding a job and trying to learn as much as they can.
Right, right. Listen, don't listen to don't listen to Vibhu. We're getting that AI medicine. All right, we're getting that AI brain medicine. It's coming. But go ahead, Deezy.
I'm 29.
You're 29.
I'm 29. I'll be 30 in January.
This is your peak. This is your mental peak. It's your like. I'm serious. Like it's like you have energy. Your metabolism still works. You don't have back problems. Like you still have new ideas. Like this is the best time of your life. You should take advantage of it. Hopefully.
Well, let me ask you this though. I mean, do you feel that there's something that there's wisdom, right? I mean, you're able to understand. Maybe I don't know. My thought is that you've gone through enough hurdles and enough blocks. You learn things. You learn how to navigate things better. Maybe better communication skills, better organizational skills. I don't know. I mean, do you feel like that now you're better at all that kind of stuff than you know?
Yeah, maybe. I just think your ceiling starts to drop off because and this is just based on the evidence. You can go look at the history of the world's greatest businesses. I'm only speaking about business, okay? I mean, there's lots of other, and in most sports, obviously as well. But like, you're, like, there just aren't examples of like certain types of things that were founded by people, um, at our age. So I acknowledge that, and I already coped with that many years ago. And like it's okay. I'm fine to. I have a different goal now. Like when I was 20, I literally my main goal in life, to be honest, was to become the world's greatest entrepreneur, and that was what I. And I thought that was possible, and to be honest, there was probably some small chance that could have been true. And that that chance goes down and down and down over time, and that's fine. Um, I don't need that anymore to be happy. So it's just these are just like more like factual things. Yes, wisdom is great, but it's actually uh, it counts against you when you're shooting for the stars because you don't even like take that first step sometimes.
Right, right. Well, I'll say this. I think that Drip is great. And I think it's innovative, and I think it's doing the right thing and the smart thing. So I wouldn't catch yourself out, man. I think you're doing amazing work. So this is my humble opinion, and I'm sure Fresh and Deezy agree.
Yeah, actually, I have a story. I was talking to a guy. Hopefully, we'll have him on the show. His name is Justice. He's a big guy out here in Arizona with music. He owns Respect the Underground, and they have their own radio and everything. Like they got a lot of stuff going on. But I was kind of explaining to him, the Drip platform for music artists because he helps manage artists and releases content. And I was telling him kind of how it worked. He was super interested. I sent him the link. I'm sure he's going to do some research, but like from the outside looking in, when you kind of tell people how it works, they're like, okay, it sounds really cool. I'm like, hey, their mobile app will be here probably sometime soon, so it'll be easy to get on there. A lot of people.
You can test it now.
Yeah, yeah. I have it on my phone, and let's get into it. So you're doing these businesses, you're doing your entrepreneurship journey. I know you spent a little time in venture. When did I guess we should start with Web3. When did Web3 and crypto and that side of things? Because Drip is sort of, I don't know if you agree with this, but Drip at the moment at least was sort of built on Web3 Solana kind of community, but it's something now that anybody can get on. If you have a Google email. But I just kind of curious, like when did that start for you, the whole crypto NFT journey, and then how did that lead into what's happening with Drip?
In 2021, I got a call from someone I know at the Solana Foundation, and they pitched me on this idea of building a retail store that that would teach people about Solana and crypto concepts. And Beta was a retail startup, so we were building stores all over the world. And the timing was very good because we were just starting to wind down that business. And so I was like, yeah, why not? Sounds interesting. I knew a little bit about Ethereum and had a wallet and everything like that, but I um, didn't really. I wasn't fully immersed in the culture.
Wait, one second. What was the basic concept of beta, real quick? Like, was it just building digital stores like Shopify, or what was the?
No, it was physical stores. We were building. So Beta was the world's first IRL marketplace concept that really scaled. So basically, we would build out a storefront, beautiful like tier one Apple quality storefront, and we would rent out the spaces. We'd execute these micro leases for 2 feet of space to brands using software. So you could go online and like browse different places you could put your product in our catalog, and then put your and then we would it was pretty cool. There was a lot to it, but um, Solana Spaces operate on a similar model. Solana Space was the name of the storefront that we built for really with Solana, and we put one in New York City and Miami. We're gonna put the third one in LA, and then FTX happened, but that model was similar. So we rented these different kind of experiential components of the space to Phantom and different apps from Solana. FTX was one of our big customers, um, and uh, and yeah, it was a really. I mean, these stores were amazing. But Drip was started inside of the store, and it was a kiosk that people could put their wallet address into. I think they scanned the QR code and then they would off their wallet, and we'd add them to a list. And the initial idea was to send people to like re-engage people after their store visit with different things. So we would send them art, we would send them coupons, um, we would send them a photograph, and this was very novel because NFTs in that time were still very much in like scarcity mode, and we were starting to experiment with airdropping for free with big distribution to people as a reward. And 4 weeks into the launch, we decided to put it online as well, and and that was when Drip started to consume our life, because we were kind of running the store. We were running the stores, and then we had this little hobby project to send people free NFTs, and that, like, as soon as we put it online, it blew up, and and a huge percentage of people on Solana at the time. This is just after FTX, so the vibes were pretty bad, and we were doing something that was fun and interesting, and so we were engaging a lot of folks. And I remember in January of, not last year but the year before, 20 was it last year? What year is it? 2024? Yeah, okay, it was last year. Okay. We've done a lot, man, the last 2 years. So I remember in January, like we did this drop with Flag Monkeys, an artist on Solana, and we sent the lists random PFPs from him, and a huge secondary market appeared for these things, and we were just giving people to them for free, and yet they were selling for like 5-6 SOL, some of the rare ones. And because of that secondary market activity, we had another huge wave of interest in the product, and we were spending our entire days delivering invite codes to people who were asking for it. And we came into February and we're thinking, hey, we've got this thing that we're this hobby project that's like taking up all of our time, and by the way, it's really fun to build. And it seems like there's so much to do with this. And these stores are kind of floundering a bit. Post FTX, I don't know if Phantom's going to renew. I don't know if FTX is going to renew, or FTX is not going to renew. I don't know if the other partners are going to renew. So we made this difficult decision February last year to sunset the stores. We spun out Drip from the stores so we could wind those down. We started a new company, bought all the IP, and we started to imagine that Drip could grow from this like lists to multiple lists. And that was like,
Can you clarify that a little bit? So you're saying that so initially it was just you had these stores, someone would maybe buy a product in the store, something like that. You're delivering a collectible to them via this Drip platform. You sunset the stores. The lists are how? What do you mean by lists?
we had a single. So you would sign up with your wallet, and then we would send you something every week, and that was the promise of putting your wallet in. But it wasn't. It was just us. Like it was me commissioning art or designing a coupon or whatever, and then sending it to everyone that put their wallet in the list. And you didn't. There was no transaction fees. So as long as you got in at any point, you would qualify for every drop that we did. And every week we were doing it, the list was growing. By the time we sunset the stores, there were like 90,000 people on the list. But it was just one list. Like it was just that. That was all it was. It was literally just like a database. We kept all the wallets in there, and then we would send people stuff. Um, and yeah, and yeah. So basically, we thought the idea we had was basically to build like a Web3 Mailchimp where anyone could start a list. But instead of it being emails, it was wallets, and then they could send assets to those lists. And to be honest with you, that's kind of like Drip has a lot of that metaphor inside of how it's built, right? It's just we, in the process of doing this, like at every step along the way, there were like very obvious things that we had to solve, right? We did a list with an artist, and then we're like, well, wait a second, the artist probably needs to make money. They're not going to just send their art for free. Well, maybe we should add like a way for people to tip them. And that was like the genesis of originally all of our donations were in Sol. And they're like, well, maybe people, if they tip more, they should get something that other people didn't get. And that was the genesis of Leaderboard. So we were kind of like, we didn't have like, there wasn't like a big vision to like reinvent the creator economy. It was like, there was a vision to just like keep going and like iterate on that list product. And then we kind of found the language and all these like other things in the process of just trying to solve the things that were presented in front of us. And this is the first time in my life I built a company like that, because I'm actually like usually very much big picture, like, hey, we're gonna add a marketplace to all the retail stores in the world that you can book on the internet, and that's what we're building, and let's go and like kind of fill up towards that. And here it was like, and we continue to operate this way, and this is why I love working on Drip. It's just like every next step is like we're pulled into it from the people that are using the product, because we've never suffered from a lack of demand as long as the price point made sense. Because I think digital assets for free which was our initial wedge, had like infinite demand within Web3, and then we started to like curb that off a little bit. But for that reason, it's been like remarkably easy to think about the next steps, and to get feedback on anything that we do. It is really a special company. I don't think I don't know if it can be that multi-trillion-dollar generational thing, because blockchain has a lot. We have a lot to prove in the next decade, and we are like there are a lot of things against like headwinds against us as a space. But I can say Drip is like I think we have a really really high ceiling, like extremely high. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can definitely say the spaces that you guys do, hopping in them. I mean, you make yourself very available, and we're on Drip, and we've interacted with the customer support team, and I mean, it's incredible. I mean, at least as it stands now, if you're a creator out there, creators, you get on Drip. I mean, it's been an amazing experience, man. I'm kind of curious, and I do want to come back to the platform, but I'm really kind of curious about your, uh, you know, kind of your attitude towards being that open and allowing people to because sometimes people get on that stage and they tell you like, we don't like this, or there's someone in particular I'm thinking about, but the people tell you they don't like things, or they want to, I've hopped up a couple of times and been like, yo, we need this, bro, and you never really get all bent out of shape. You're like, okay, cool, like we'll figure it out, or whatever, maybe not right now, but I'm just kind of curious about that mentality. um and one last thing I'll say is just that we've talked about it on the show before, sort of the idea of customer service, and in the United States, work ethic, that it's suffering, and it's really refreshing to be involved with something where it feels like you're really cared about. I don't know if you have thoughts on that or how you feel about that.
Yeah. So I think that and Web3 was I mean Web3 is a industry where you have to be very like you get forgotten very quickly if you're not seen. And so I learned that right away. Like that was the first thing I observed. And I wasn't like this at all. I wasn't very public with data. You almost never heard from me unless something really bad happened, or something really good happened. But I think this ecosystem requires a bit more presence. I also think it's the meta for leadership these days. Like Elon really changed the Overton window on like being talkative as a founder. Love him or hate him, but like he really changed the game there in a lot of ways, and he's the most prominent entrepreneur on the planet. So it's not just a one-off thing. Like everyone sees what he's doing, and you've seen company leaders, not just in crypto, but now in AI as well, and other like emerging fields, being super talkative. You see them shit posting. You see like a lot more personality, and so I just think like if you're not playing that game today, you're not going to succeed. It is not. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be public. I don't want to be on Twitter Spaces. I don't want to be on this podcast. But I feel like it's no, I'm just kidding. But I feel like it's a necessity of modern leadership, and my job is to, unfortunately, to be seen, to be heard from, and to and my account personally has a lot of reach now. So if I need to get something out the door, announcement wise or to creators, like that's the best way for it to be, to get visibility. It's better than our own company account. So I take that responsibility pretty seriously.
Hey man, VibuCast coming 2025. Build that personal brand, man. You know what I'm saying? um
In terms of customer service, yeah, I just to address that, like Esther, who is we hired out of our community last year. Um, she is just fanatical about being responsive. I think that's something that her and I both share, and that's the culture of our support org. And now we see it as a strength because I don't know if you've minted on other platforms or if you've done anything in Web3, but like the service is pretty bad. Usually it's like join our Discord, open a Discord ticket with some ticketing tool there, and then just wait and just hope for the best. Um, to me, creators are small businesses. Like you are, like the modern creator is as complicated from a marketing and sales and all and like content perspective as any business is. And like you can't really afford to wait for someone to get back to on something that affects your business. So I think we're like I really want to offer 24/7 like almost instantaneous support for the rest of our existence, because I think that's a huge like kind of wedge in our strategy that is different from everyone else in the creator economy. So
I mean, I would go so far as to say that if you guys keep that up, I mean, that's what's going to make you dominate over any other creator platform, Patreon or or locals or whatever, So it's just my
Dude, we're spend 50,000 a year with Twitter, and I literally cannot get a response from them. I don't know. We have this flag on our account in our backend, and I've been trying to get it cleared forever. We can't unlock these like free ad things they give us because of that. I've emailed them over and over and over, and there's no response. Like at some point, I don't know. This just doesn't seem right to me. Like, forget the strategy part. Like, companies should be responsive. If they're offering you a product and you're paying for it,
hey man,
even if it's indirect in your case, you should probably just respond to people.
You're hearing it here first. Drip Social 2026. That's it. I'm just gonna announce features for you.
The worst part about freaking Twitter or X support is that there is no number, there is no chat bot, there is no nothing. It's a forum, and you click through the forum hoping you're gonna find like a solution to your problem, and then it just like has you log in, and then there isn't, most of the time you can't even find the solution to your problem. You have to send them an email, which is also super hard to get a hold of. It's crazy. Like,
Look, I'll just say I'm the opposite of your guys' complaint with Twitter. I don't want to hear from them. I haven't paid for my Twitter Blue in 8 months. I still have my check mark. They are not taking money from me. So if I never hear from them again, I couldn't be happier.
All right, we're gonna have to cut this part of the show out so that they don't find out fresh. I have a quick question, man. Before we, and I promise you, we'll get into the mechanics of drip. But one last zoom out. It is a legend that you never sleep. You work nonstop. You're in founder mode. That's what they say. That's what they call it these days. And I'm curious what you think about that. Do you feel, because I know you got a family and all that kind of stuff. What do you think about this idea of founder mode, that you're supposed to work 24/7, that work-life balance, all that kind of stuff? What's your feeling about that?
I mean, I'm a little old school in this, I guess. Like, I mean, whether you're a founder or not, you know, if you care about building something great, it's very hard to do that without making your fullest commitments of all your time and energy to it. And that is because if you don't do that, I promise there's somebody else that will. So you kind of exist in like a market for your own time, with everybody else that's trying to build something. And I want to build, I want to be the best, and I want to build the best company. So it's not an option to me. And I've structured my entire life around being able to work as much as possible. So the reason it doesn't look like I'm sleeping, which is obviously absolutely true. I've not slept in the last 2 years. The reason it looks like that is because everything surrounding my wife, my kids, everyone understands, what's important and what's not, what has to be done, what doesn't have to be done. But believe it or not, I think I'm a very good dad. I spend a lot of time with my kids. I do the dishes every night, clean the kitchen, sweep up, all that kind of stuff. I do all the normal stuff, but I'm very wired in on my phone, unfortunately. So like, you'll see me like take breaks constantly to answer something or take a peek. So I don't know. I think I'm used to it. It's probably like more degenerate than not, but
well, I feel like the results are speaking for themselves itself. So as it stands now with Drip, how do you see the platform? I know that it's right now it's a creator collector platform. For anybody who hasn't gone on Drip yet, drip.haus, HAUS.
D.RIP, by the way. I don't know if you know this, but if you do D.RIP/ you can use any URL that's on Drip with that short URL.
Drip, the ultimate platform for connecting creators and fans. Whether you're into art, comics, music, or podcasts, Drip offers fans limited edition digital collectibles from top creators worldwide for a fraction of a cent. Just sign up at drip.haus and you'll have access to new drops happening 24/7. And if you're a creator, Drip is the platform that pays. Set up a Drip account to find out more. Follow The Goat Show at d.rip/The Goat Show for exclusive access to Goat Show collectibles. Now back to the show.
From your perspective, how do you see Drip now? Because now it's a creator sort of collector platform, or are you moving more in like a Patreon? I know that you're going to build a subscriber side to it, but how would you describe it in your own words what Drip is?
So Drip is part of the Patreon universe, and I like to call that universe the direct monetization universe. So we have all of our Web 2 platforms are all indirect monetization. Like you don't. Okay, they're experimenting a little bit with payments. Like you can, if you're certain level of YouTuber or Twitch or whatever, like you can access some monetization there natively. But the vast majority of creators, like 99% of creators, if they want to monetize their social presence, they have to take you off the platform to their Shopify, to their ticketing site, to their merch site, wherever it is, to their Patreon. And Patreon, Drip, and OnlyFans, and all these fan platforms, they are content and commerce in the same place. So we're in that field for sure. However, Drip is highly, highly differentiated within direct monetization platforms because, for one, Drip also functions as a place to be discovered. In the traditional fan world, the platforms put a horse blinder on you as a user, and they want that you go from clicking the link, you don't see any other pages there, you're not part of an ecosystem. They are effectively acting as a checkout provider. And then you get in there, and this is why, like on Patreon, for example, the average user has only 1.5 subscriptions. About most people have one, and then a handful of people have two. And Drip is very different in that regards. The average user on Drip has dozens of pages that they're following and patronizing in different ways. Two, Drip is digital assets being delivered. And that's important because when you use something like Patreon, you are effectively licensing your content to your audience. And if they stop giving back to you, you lose access to the things that you've already kind of paid for in a way. And I think that's been positioned as like a benefit of a subscription model, which is that you lose access. But in fact, what's happening is that the internet doesn't have a model to protect the interests of users who are consuming content. And Drip is inserting blockchains as a solution to that. Because when you pay for something, you get to keep it, and it's yours forever. If you want to watch it back, you want to listen back to the pod in the future, even if you stop donating today, that's still yours. And that is more how the real world has worked for thousands of years. These are inventions of the internet, lacking a business model, lacking things like blockchains, in my opinion. So when you make the value prop more fair for the user, you encourage them to do more of it. And Patreon has not solved the creator economy. They have a measly sum of users compared to any of the major social platforms. They're not even on the scale of relevance. You don't see, if you go look at the top charts on Patreon, it is like not representative of the mainstream of interest at all. It's super hyper niche. And that's just because they haven't reached mass adoption there. So I think, we are working on a set of tools that empower creators very uniquely to be discovered, to monetize their audience, and to control and own their audience, which is something that nobody really gives you in the field of discovery. Like if you can't export your YouTube audience and like go find them on TikTok and send them something on TikTok. Like those are Like you're starting from scratch every time you join a new platform. Even the biggest celebrities in the world struggle with taking a fan base they built somewhere and then trying to do anything with them at all that's not on those platforms. Drip's portable by default because your audience lives on the blockchain. It is not owned by us. If you want to snapshot that audience and give them something, if you want to go outside of Drip, you can totally do that. Now, we don't want you to do that. We don't want creators to do that. We want you to use Drip. But there's an insurance policy sitting underneath Drip that covers users and creators, which is if we cease to exist, you still own the content you bought. If we cease to exist, the creators can still continue to access that same audience.
I have to imagine that ultimately that does help Drip, not only in terms of transparency and trust, but also that people want to bring people back to Drip. And so being able to, and I know that that's something that you're working on. I think you said in the last X Space that was something you're working on, is the segmentation, right? And being able to, understand your audience and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like ultimately that's going to benefit Drip in the long term anyway.
Well, that's what I mean. I call insurance because you don't want you want Drip to have the resources. If you love Drip, you want Drip to have the resources to continue to build and improve its tool sets. You want us to find ways to lock creators in and users in. But this is a values thing for us. The values are, our values are that you can be confident that that the infrastructure serving the most important stuff here is never going to go away. And it doesn't have to be that way. We could change it. We could make the files that we send out readable only on Drip using some kind of encryption scheme. We could make it so that we obfuscated, different parts of the stack. We could make it so that your payments didn't come on the blockchain; they came some other way. But we believe in we believe in what blockchains can do, and we also happen to think that if Drip is to be successful, and you look at the history of social platforms evolution over 10, 15 years, it's not like I don't think Zuckerberg is an evil person. Some people do. I don't think he is. But the incentives outside of the hands of the founder become take on a life of their own. And over time, the system mirrors its incentives. And the reality is that Facebook was always going to be incredibly extractive, and they were always going to have to lock down their APIs and all these efforts because their business model demands that. I think Drip says, let's set the incentives right from the get-go, which are you have, as a creator, you have leverage over us. Because if we really fucked up, sorry, am I allowed to curse on this?
Abso-fucking-lutely, brother. Abso-fucking-lutely.
If we really fuck up something that drives creators away, you actually can parachute out of Drip into something else. And so there's that escape hatch that you provide you, and that keeps us honest because now we have to provide a much tighter feedback loop for those kinds of things. Otherwise, we're putting our business at risk. And you don't see that today, but I think in 10 years, that will become very important.
Yeah, and I think it's I feel like it's already given you guys a competitive advantage, and I think long term it definitely will seal it. So that's great to hear. I'm curious when it comes to one thing I noticed about Drip, and I mean, I'll be real here. We joined Drip, and immediately we got lots of followers. I mean, the community on Drip is they love new creators, and you guys feature new creators prominently that joined the platform. And I'm kind of curious where that came from, and um, and part of Drip is also that you apply to be on Drip, so it's not just an open platform where anybody can hop on and put whatever bullshit. Like you got to kind of, I mean, there's a little bit of quality control there. I have to imagine.
Within 3 months, we are planning to open signups up to anybody that wants to sign up. So that will change. Yeah. Yeah, we want users to subscribe to many different creators. We want them to find new ones. The economic premise of Drip is that actually like patronizing an individual creator is actually very, very low cost relative to something like Patreon, where you have, $2, $5, $10 a month. That's actually a really high bar for people. Like, dude, we get Netflix for like $10 a month. Like, we get like the world's greatest catalog of content, all content ever made in human history, like movie wise, for like $10 a month. You're asking me to pay $10 a month for your podcast? Is it 20? I don't know. Okay, 10 or
They've been raising. Same with Spotify, dude. Spotify rate, bro. Like, man.
standards $15.49 a month. Premium. Okay, I don't know what those mean, but
Still though.
But
but yeah,
still,
yeah.
okay.
but
I mean,
still,
still.
even to charge half of that
Yeah.
for a podcast seems kind of
a
insane,
lot.
right?
Yeah.
It is insane. It is actually insane, and it doesn't make sense. Like, we're being and a lot of times too, you're competing with free, and you're asking the customer to get the same thing and just pay for it. Most of the time, to be honest.
There may be people watching that have never heard drip, right? So you can you explain the droplet system? How did that come about, and how do you see that working in this ecosystem?
Right. So droplets are an in-app currency. They work like um, Audible credits. If you ever use Audible, they work like Candy Crush gems. What's that? Robux, exactly. So they're not a token on chain. They live off chain. You can buy them with crypto or a credit card, and droplets give you mobility within Drip to do anything with a creator. So you can follow for free, but if you want to keep their content that they send you, you've got to pay droplets for that. If you want to like their content, that's a droplet. And if you want to donate to them, you use droplets. And all of those droplets that get donated to creators, they get automatically converted into US dollars. And if you're in crypto, that's USDC. They're like digital dollars, automatically. So every 24 hours, we sum all the droplets given to a creator and we swap it for USDC. So, so yeah, we invented this to make the experience of collecting much, much higher quality than you can do in other kind of crypto apps. Usually, you're like, I won't mention their names, but like there are other like click to collect ideas within crypto, and they usually, the way they work is you click the button and then you get a wallet dialog, and then you got to approve the wallet dialog, and you got to pay, and then you get the thing, and that's like, compared to the experience of collecting on Drip, that's extremely painful. It takes like 10 seconds, 20 seconds. On Drip, people are collecting like today so far. There's been like 300,000 collectibles collected on Drip. Imagine having to wait 30 seconds every time you wanted to like do that. Like, if you've tried Drip, you can get through 100 collectibles in a minute. So we've kind of shifted the burden of the on-chain stuff to our software, which in the background, when you collect or whatever, or you pay, mints, transfers, does all that kind of work for you. The user doesn't have to experience the pain of like modern crypto infrastructure.
Bro, this is the first time, in my opinion, that crypto has had an experience that is painless. Like, especially with the app. I know that it's early access or whatever, but just going in, being able to see the new things that I've gotten dropped today, and then go to a spot, collect my droplets, click on the little game to see if I can secure a legendary. Everything just works so nice, looks so nice, and it's so painless. Um, and I really don't see another thing in this ecosystem at all that has been this painless.
I mean, I would say not only Web3 and crypto. I think, I mean, like we're saying, like these mega creator platforms or whatever, Drip is a much better platform in my opinion. It by miles, So,
I think there are things. I mean, I think there are some constraints on the experience on Drip. So, for example, like most of the Web2 platforms all have algorithmic feeds now. It doesn't actually really matter that much who you follow. that's like a little bit of signal in their algorithm, but it's mostly what you actually consume. And so and that creates a super addictive, you can create a really addictive feed that way. Drip is kind of trying to do a little bit of both. It's trying to get you to subscribe to a bunch of creators, but also try not to get in the way and facilitate those interactions. And that means that sometimes you are following someone and you're seeing things that you're not guaranteed to love. And I think one of the things we need to do is like figure out how to take some of those ideas and bring them in. And crypto, these are like less crypto problems and more like, where do we want to be as a product in the user's life? And but I appreciate you saying that. I think Drip is nowhere near the level of like an Instagram or TikTok. Like those guys have really perfected this kind of class of product. Within crypto, I agree. I think Drip is the best product in all of crypto. From a UX standpoint, from like just how it works and what it does. But that bar is pretty low. So to be fair.
I'll say, so I've been talking to people who are creatives that have no crypto experience, right? And I think what you guys have done really well is that, and I know it's early stages, so when you feature prominently new creators that haven't even dropped anything yet, and I hope that moving forward in the future that there's a way to continue to do that, because just from our experience, we're on everything. We're on YouTube, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, all these things, but it's a high bar to be able to get that initial following on these platforms. And it takes a lot to even get to where we are now, and which isn't that much. Whereas on Drip, it's a huge benefit that when we hop on, I don't even know how we're getting followers, dude. I don't even know what's going on. Like,
I'm not complaining. We weren't even featured, bro. We never even got featured on the.
I know we're getting like
because we snuck in the back door, right? Like so.
Yeah.
I don't even know if people are following us, but
the reality is a small subset of Drip's audience follows you guys. But the ratio of users to creators is pretty high. So you're much because it's early days, you're much more likely to be discovered. On other platforms, every consumer is also a creator. And you're competing with like a lot more people for that follow button. But yeah, this is like something, these are like, I can see the future things that we're going to have to figure out, because we do want to open it to everybody. And now all of a sudden, because it's much harder for us to like point the fire hose at any individual. So what we need to do is like start to build out recommendations that are more targeted. Like, here are podcasts that you like that you might like, or here are creators that have content for less than $1, or like we can use some of our data to
we
craft
seen
that.
You follow the Goat Show. Here are 3 podcasts.
Right. Or your friends follow your friends love the Goat Show. We think you'll love it. You should follow. So there's so much to do. There's so much to do. And social networks do this really well, like Twitter, Instagram, like for all their faults. They've really nailed the network design of, and Drip is at its infancy here. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to sort of just ask you, with that, do you ultimately see Drip? Like, is there a vision for Drip now that you have, or are you still working, like you said before, you're just building what you're building and it's going to go where it's going to go?
I think I think we're very committed right now to building a product that can stand up against Patreon. That involves subscriptions, that involves more social utility, more communications native to the product. I think if we would, if we wake up a year from now and we don't have DMs, we don't have feeds, we don't have messaging and chat and all those kind of things in the product, will probably have failed, because I think those are not only like inevitable for improving the user experience, but also give us a lot of data to start to solve some of these things that we just chatted about. So that's my current bar, but within that, I think we've found kind of a we're starting to find ways to talk about this to people from outside of crypto as well. Drip, we want to really promote Drip as a collectibles platform, and it's not a platform for photography or for short videos or for podcasts or whatever it is. It's for collectibles, and what a collectible is, it's a piece of digital content that you own. And I like when I see creators like you guys experimenting with not just like sending out the primary content that you make, but other adjacent assets and things that are companions to that. That's exactly what Drip can be. So I think Patreon as kind of like a North Star of mechanics, and then collectibles as like a North Star of how we want to talk about it and start to like, I think when you think digital collectible, I want people to think Drip in the future. I think that's if we can like make that happen, and people understand what it means. Not only is Drip going to be huge, but I think crypto is going to grow significantly, because this is the entry point I think a lot of people are going to find into this space.
I'll just say personally, I'm really optimistic about you guys, because I mean, just from a creator perspective, like I said, I've been talking to people that I know have been creators for a long time, and I mean, they're putting up their stuff on Instagram, and they get that like or whatever, but it's a much different story. I mean, we've experienced that. We put up content, and I mean, we haven't even gotten monetized on YouTube yet, but on Drip, we put up, our stuff, and people pay in the droplets, and it's great. I mean, we get something for it. So
As new creators, we've only made like maybe $200 on Drip, right? But everywhere else that we've put our content out, and we've put, let's just be serious, more effort into it, because Drip is just a new thing for us. We haven't seen the same kind of reward. We haven't seen the same kind of even interaction with our stuff. Take the money out of it, we're not getting the same type of interaction in other places, right? So
this is, I mean, what you're saying is, I mean, this is like, I think we've been presented from between YouTube and Twitch and everything. They've all built out the same kind of game, which is that like, if you want to earn, you've got to, check these 5 boxes or whatever it is. And then we're going to unlock monetization for you. And by the way, it's going to start at a very low price point. And then at the very high end of the spectrum, they're all negotiated and they have their own deals and packages and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is that 90, I don't know exactly if this is the case, but like somewhere between like 90 and 99% of creators are in the long tail who are unmonetized. And a lot of people don't even try because they know that they'll never reach that bar. And I don't think it's because the companies don't want to pay everybody. I think it is because they don't use crypto for payments, and therefore the financial infrastructure to deliver small 1 cent, 10 cent dollar payments to people at scale is just way too. It's like it's not even worth. I mean, we used to have this kind of conversation all the time when I was working Web 2. Like, it's just not worth us paying someone $1, because it's going to cost us $5 in admin costs. So we'll just set this bar here, where it becomes worth our administrative costs to do it, and that leaves 99% of the use cases out. So this is like, I mean, this is why I really believe in crypto payments, because there is no artificial administrative bar, and we're paying 700 creators every single day with software, and the fees on that are like, absolutely minimal. And cool, like you made 10 cents from this thing, cool, we'll send you 10 cents. Like, why not?
because it costs a fraction of a cent to send it.
that's incredible, man. Never thought about that. That's a clear. That's a brilliant crypto use case that I don't think many people really realize.
That's it. To be honest, that is the thing. In my opinion, that's the thing. And you'll see a million people. I see VCs talking about, well, you don't need, there's a reason why bundling happens. Like, okay, it's not really efficient. Okay, you get $1. What are you going to do with that dollar? But I tell you what, like, we're creators all around the globe. I don't know where you guys are. You guys in the US or
US and Canada? I'm in Canada.
Canada?
US and Canada. Yeah.
Okay. Like, okay, for me, $1, it's not going to do a whole lot. But we work with creators from all over the place where $1 buys them lunch or buys them coffee. And I just imagine I posted a image this morning on my, onto Drip, and my fans collected it, and I got paid $1 by lunchtime because it's instantaneous and it's payless.
And now me and my family can eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the same day. There's no cash flow, there's no net 15 payment terms. Like this actually changes the world. And we need to, like, Drip is one of the things that's in that space, but I think yeah. This is why crypto is never going to go away. It's also why I think it's going to continue to eat the world. You just need enough time for people to, like, experience that magic,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's incredible. I never thought about that. That's really cool. All right, I gotta ask, man. When app, bro? I mean, I'm on Test Flight. I got the Test Flight app. When are we getting the iOS app and the Android app? Because I want to show. I got plenty of normies out there, don't know nothing about crypto. I'm ready to show them. I've already talked to them. Some of them I've kind of pushed Jome's way. He might be getting annoyed with me. I'm like pushing like all these people, but I'm just curious when's the app going to be released and all that kind of stuff.
There's a couple things to do. We need to add actual onboarding into the app. So right now, when you can only sign into an existing account, you can't create a new one. We've been, like, designing and redesigning that vigorously because it's very important how we introduce people to what you can do with it. There's a lot of features that are missing that we need to get in there. So secure stacks coming very soon. XP, progression badges, multipliers all coming to the app.
Oh, real quick. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
One thing I love about the platform is that you guys have incorporated all of these gamification type of systems into it. So in other words, and I think there's an XP system. So in other words, the more you secure, the more XP you get. You earn badges for that. And you recently just did this super cool thing, which I love, which is that you basically every month you have a certain, depending on how much you secure, how many collectibles you collect, and how many, what badges you collect, and what levels you level up to. The next month you get a multiplier on the droplets that you can receive from sort of this droplet. I don't know, what do you call it?
Yeah, it's a claim. Yeah,
the droplet claim. So where does that come from? The Roblox years, like learning all that sort of stuff there and bringing in. How did that sort of come about?
XP. I mean, I think Drip's always had a little bit of, like, elements of gaming in there. Like, even like the donation system is, like, kind of gamified with leaderboards and things like that. And yeah, we're always looking for ways to make Drip more fun. I mean, that's really what it's about. But these also give us new tools to drive to drive different behaviors in different ways. So XP was kind of us trying to figure out what would get people interested in securing collectibles more often. And then we introduced the multiplier as a reward, and we accompanied that with a big change, which was removing absolutely free access to Drip. So this is us kind of scaling our loyalty, rewards basically to how much you give back to creators ultimately, but just, like, wrapping it in a clever way. And we like we borrow when we're designing Drip. We borrow a lot of inspiration from mobile games. Mobile games are, and they have some of the best like incentive design systems. And I personally think that like, kids grow up today socializing through games, and and you kind of expect that level. Like if we're not competing on the same level of like raw dopamine as Clash of Clans or whatever they play on their phones, like it's very hard to get them to come to the app. So to me, it's like table stakes. And like it's absolutely and we enjoy designing it because even for us, it makes Drip more fun to use. So yeah, we'll be like doing more stuff like that too, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like that's another part of this whole platform that really distinguishes you guys because, yeah, I mean, you're incentivizing people to secure collectibles, and ultimately that helps creators. So I just thought that was really cool, and yeah, definitely looking forward to.
He didn't even mention the legendary lock-in, bro. He didn't even mention it.
For anybody who, I feel like, here's what I want. If you're watching out there, you've never heard of Drip, and this is all new information to you. Again, go to drip.haus, HAUS, and discover all these wonderful creators and mechanics and things for yourself. All right, and grab you some droplets while you're at it. All right, what is it? $1 is 1,000 droplets, and most collectibles are like 10 droplets. It's unbelievable.
Yep, you get 100 for $1.
Yeah, I mean,
yep,
that's crazy. Okay, I guess I should say, if someone's a creator out there, so you're saying you're going to open up the platform, but for now, I guess there's a form they have to fill out, and I don't know, man. I gotta be honest. I mean, what do you think, Fresh and Deezy? I feel like we gotta keep that wall up, man. I don't want like, some of these artists, they ain't doing nothing,
you want
man.
to build a wall?
Yo, listen, we're gonna build a wall, and the users are gonna pay for it. No, honestly though, I do like that it's vetted. However, if we want the platform to grow, then we can't have it that way forever, because I think there'll become a point where it becomes too expensive to pay people to vet people if the user base grows to where you want it to be.
The main problem, to be honest, is that the things that you want to vet for are very hard to do with a human. The market does that much, much better.
Yeah.
A lot of we have this discussion very often internally, which is that if you were going to curate, I think your first instinct is in curate for quality. But if you observe the results that people have on the platform, it's much more important to curate for their understanding of Drip itself as a product and what they can do with it. Because, to be honest with you, if Picasso were alive or whatever, or Banksy popped up on the platform and all he did was drop a piece of art, every once in a while, he probably wouldn't really work, even though he's very famous and everyone knows his name, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But if you craft a strategy that's unique to Drip, that's built for collectibles, if you have a great personality, if you know how to market yourself, those attributes are much better.
Right.
And I don't know how to set up a human to do that kind of curation.
Yeah,
I think
it makes sense because I mean, one person's trash is another person's treasure. So how do you even decide what should be or what shouldn't be? So
if it was just aesthetics, I think it would be easy, and I think it would make sense.
Yeah,
it's just that hasn't proven to be the thing that drives interest in creators. So
right. All right, open it up. Let them all in. Free.
Free the creator, bro. Free the creator, dog. That's the whole thing, man. This is a revolution.
You got an advantage, though. I think everyone that's if you join Instagram early or YouTube early, you got these huge audiences for free, basically, and that's kind of the gift that the platform gives to people who are believers right now.
Yeah. Well, we definitely are believers, man. I just, we want to give you your flowers. personally, but I'm sure Fresh and Deezy agree. The platform's beautiful, looks great, functions great. The user experience is clean. The community is really great. So, if anybody out there is watching and you're really interested in, I would say probably the best thing is that one of the things they should definitely do is hop in on Tuesdays, right? On X. There's a drip experience space, and you're usually there, and the rest of the team, and all the wild and wacky creators, and it's a lot of fun and super cool. So, what was it? Usually noon on Tuesdays on X, if that's correct.
Noon Eastern. Yeah, exactly.
Noon Eastern. And would you say the main drip account and then your personal drip account are the best places to kind of follow to learn all about drip or get more drip info?
Yeah, or Instagram. We have pretty cool Instagram as well.
Okay, great. We'll put all that in the show notes, so that way you can just hop on down the description and you can click wherever you need to go and all that kind of stuff. So, well, listen, man, it's been a privilege and an honor to have you on the Goat Show. And on the show, we like to, we celebrate and debate everything great. We're going to celebrate. So we're going to toast to you, good sir, here on the show. Appreciate you putting in all this work, building this amazing platform, and appreciate you really looking out for creators and for pushing crypto forward. So cheers.
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 And with that, just want to say, if you're watching out there and you haven't already, what do we got to do, Fresh? What do we got to make these?
Like, subscribe, share, comment, hit the bell, tell your mom, tell your aunt, and get on drip and fuck you.